What up, people? So, episode 8, I think. I don't really know where I'm at and if that's wrong or if I post this out of order. Beat me to death with sticks or don't. I would really prefer if you didn't. So today's topic is about what's uncomfortable. It is diving into that. It's addressing the wounds instead of dressing the wounds. It's actually handling the problem instead of just putting a bandage over it. You know, in today's society, we're often taught to kind of, put a shell around it. You know, and I think I mentioned this in the last episode, it's not about what we feel, it's about what we do. So it's less about, if you can take time to process through it and what you need from that and what you need to learn from it. It's more just about, if you can keep going, if you can push through. And that was what the last episode was centered around as well, is just, when will enough be enough? When will you feel like enough where you can stop and take a break and take a breath? So I'm not going to keep going over that, but that really has a big part to play in the fact that we're hiding from our own emotion, if you want to put it that way. I think a lot of us, if you were, born into what you might call a normal household, we're often taught to just kind of shrink away from it, to keep pushing and keep going. And yeah, that's a righteous mentality to push through the pain. But, when we swallow that pain, where does it go? Is it that weight that you feel on your chest? Is it, that knot in your stomach? Is it the endless amount of thoughts that you have, So I guess when we swallow it, do we digest it? Do we digest it properly, Or is it just something that we swallow and it sits at the surface? That's the baseline for every interaction. That is the forefront of, every outlook that we have on every person that we meet and every event that we go to. It is almost a preparation. Almost, you're leading into it with an anxiousness, with the idea that you need to keep your guard up, in a sense. And that comes from people that aren't healed properly. So I guess the only thing that I can suggest for that is sit with yourself and, sit in that pain and put effort in, that effort that nobody else sees as often as possible. And sure, that's, a lot harder than does that make sense? It's a lot harder than it sounds. On paper, it all sounds like, you can just sit and you can just do it and you're just fine at that. But realistically, the bottom line of it is as soon as you stop, as soon as you sit still, that is exactly when you get an itch. That is exactly when you get a thought that, calls for your attention so drastically, There's 1,000 reasons on 1,000 reasons on 1,000 reasons why we all have an excuse to not do that, why we all have an excuse to not sit still, to not process through these things. But realistically, that's probably more the meaning of life than everything that surrounds us. This outdoors that's behind me is probably more the meaning of life than, that 9 to 5 that you work, or that money that you make, or the household that you go back to, and if they can provide for you or not. It shouldn't be about what we can provide. It should be about how we feel. It should be, an understanding and appreciation for our output. It should be like this situation where what you do is truly seen. And you, for you, is truly seen. No matter how you feel. And although that's this taboo topic, and although that's this scary element that we're not really truly accepting, it is the bottom line of life. If you don't heal, if you don't get uncomfortable and dive into the uncomfortable and truly address the wound instead of just dress the wound, then where are you going to end up? You're going to end up in the situation where hurt people, and that's corny as all hell, but that's the truth. If you don't heal, you're going to make sure that other people need to heal. That's why they're called generational curses, is because it's passed down from generations. It's not just from my parents, it's from their parents and their parents and their parents. And if they didn't heal it, then I have to heal it. And if I don't heal it, then my kids will have to heal it, or my spouse or whoever's around me, And from personal experience, these people that I truly care about, they often have been the people to see the worst side of me. Everybody else around me, I usually tend to have a happy face. I usually tend to have a happy attitude. And these people that I truly love usually see the darkest and deepest secrets. And if I don't process and work through them, then they're continuously the people who are affected by that. That's the last thing that any of us should want. The last thing any of us should want is for the people that we truly care about, the people that we're truly doing it all for, to look at us every single time and to think that we have some shred of a monster in us, that at any point we can explode, that they have to be on their toes around us and they have to be anxious, that we're giving them the justification for the fact that when they enter these conversations, they lead with an anxiousness, So heal before you make sure that other people need to heal, and just really dig deep into this big empty pocket of space and figure out what's all the way at the bottom of it. Me and a friend were just looking at the water out here and wondering why it ripples so much. And realistically, I think the bottom line of that is it ripples so much because there's something underneath, a rigid surface, probably a rock if I'm being honest, but I'm trying to make it all artistic and poetic. But there's this rigid surface underneath that makes the top of it and the surface look like it is bumpy. It's up and down, it's back and forth. So that in total is the same way that internally we all work. That in total is the same way that we all develop through life. If there is something that is jagged and broken underneath, then that is what you're going to show. And if you don't show that, then you're continuing to make sure that it's even more jagged. Every time that you try and give yourself a piece of somebody, you're breaking off another piece of yourself and you're making it another sharp surface. So now it's not just 1 point. Now it's 2 when you try and give it to somebody else, or 3 when you try and give it to somebody else after that. So I guess it's not about being selfish. Don't be selfish, do what you can for people, give what you can to people. However, if you are able to heal before you start throwing yourself every which way, before you start giving yourself to an extent where there's none of you left to give, process through these things. And like I said, and I've used this 3 times already, so maybe it is corny at this point, but address it before you just dress it. If there's a bandage and you need to, truthfully heal it, you're better off taking that bandage off and putting Neosporin. This is not a plug. I don't work for Neosporin. Neosporin or coconut oil, or I do probably work for coconut oil at some point in my life. I love that stuff. But doing that instead, take the bandage off and truly look at it and observe it. See how deep it goes. And if it goes deep down to the bone, then are you just going to leave a bandage over it and hope it heals? Probably not. You should probably go see somebody about that, And in this case, it's probably a therapist, But who am I to recommend therapy? I'm out here, and the only therapy that I have from this is these outdoors or talking to this camera. So I can't take some high road and say that I'm healed and you're not, because I'm in the same boat that you are, I don't even know if you guys could see me. It looks like I'm completely dark right now. But the bottom line is stop hiding from you. Follow that line of pain. Figure out where it comes from. Figure out what individual it stems from and heal with them. Talk to them. Figure it out with them. And if that's not possible, figure it out with yourself. You don't work through these things unless you truly process and forgive the people that are around you. And if that's not an opportunity, you don't work through anything unless you truly process and forgive yourself. And that applies to everything. So whether it has to do with somebody, whether it has to do with anyone at all or anything at all, at the end of the day, if you don't end up forgiving yourself for your past experiences, for the things that you need to learn through, you're going to fall and fall again and fall again, and then make sure that everybody else around you falls. So, I don't know, man. Heal. And I know it sounds so simple, coming from some dude on the internet, but heal. Process and heal. Process and digest, Don't let it just bubble up every time that you feel that it's ready to bubble up. Take a breath. Stop and take a breath, because it's going to be okay if you take a second, That's something that I still need to learn. I'm out here in this beautiful sunshine. Instead of staring at it, I'm recording a video. But that was the plan all along. So am I holding that against myself? If so, why? Why does it matter? Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe none of it matters, and maybe the only thing that matters is what is around you, So, work on it. Digest it. Develop through it. Stop giving yourself pieces if those pieces are broken. Or stop giving that didn't make sense. Stop giving other people pieces if those pieces are broken, I don't want your half-eaten chocolate bar. I want the full thing, That's so dumb, but I'm not here to take your scraps. I'm here to lead my life into the most healed path and then give you the most of me that I possibly can. Not, torture you in the process of torturing myself, So, you can get up, you can fight it, but you can also relax, You can pick up the pieces while you're relaxing, And I know that that's work as well. So find the right balance. Find the right balance to strike. Don't just work. Don't just pick up the pieces, but, work on yourself when it's quiet. Don't numb the pain. Don't fill it with noise. Don't compound the thought with several other thoughts that you don't have to focus on the root cause or the real thought. Keep working and just don't stop until one day you wake up with a smile on your face. Until one day you wake up and you say, I'm actually happy to wake up today. Don't push it until the alarm clock is way overdue and then you're late for whatever you have to be to, And maybe some of you don't struggle with that. But for whoever that does, you can't just keep hitting the snooze button and avoiding what life has to offer for you. You can't just, avoid that window every time that you walk past it, or avoid that mirror every time you walk past it. There's something beautiful or somebody beautiful that's in it. So truly, truly just take a look and understand and be a part of it. Because there's nothing better than that. There's nothing better than being a part of the moment. And sure, life feels slow and dull and boring and all that. Whatever excuse you want to make for the reason why you don't have to grow through and process through this life, whatever you want to say, sure, I agree, because I felt that way too. But until you seriously stop, until you seriously just take part in the life that you were handed, until you seriously just give it your all, give it your appreciation, and heal while you're at it, then life it's gonna suck. Again, easier said than done, but work on it and try. Start by trying. And if you fail, at least look yourself in the mirror and say, hey man, I tried. There was this point where I would look at myself and I would look at how shitty I felt that day and I would say, hey man, you feel shitty today. You're going to go home and you're going to do nothing and you're going to be happy about it. And I was happy about it. But eventually I reached this point after a little while where, I wasn't comfortable taking that break. So all I did was I kept running and I kept hiding and I kept, avoiding. But I'm back to that now. Or at least I'd like to say that. Maybe I'm not fully, but I'd like to say I'm back to that now. And I'm done avoiding, I'm done hiding, I'm done running. If I feel like shit, I'm going home and I'm feeling like shit. And I'm honoring that. And I'm going to heal whatever feels like shit. For however long I need to feel like shit. Until I'm done feeling like shit. Until I can wake up and just be happy that I'm waking up. So I know I'm rambling at this point. I appreciate you guys for listening. If you're listening, you're probably not listening yet. But if you're listening to this in hindsight, I hope it hits at the right moment. So, cool guys, thank you, peace.